Hello, this is Chris Pratt from Eurogamer, joined by the lovely Martin Robinson.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, sorry, that's my cue to say hello, wasn't it? Hello.
Usually when you say the name, yeah, that's a good time to jump in. And we're going to be talking about Homefront the Revolution, specifically the multiplayer side of that game, which you've been playing, and we have some video of right here. That says very boldly at the top, beta assets, not final content, so...
Yeah, this is going ahead, so basically there's a closed beta going live tomorrow, I think. And then there will, at some point before the release in May, be an open beta.
As far as I can tell, is it a co-op version of the main campaign, right?
Yeah, basically, Dan Buster Studio, the artist formerly known as Crytek UK, formerly known as Free Radical Design,
Wonderful.
decided to not do competitive multiplayer because a fairly logical conclusion they came to was that there's way too many competitive multiplayer games out there. There's no point trying to compete in that space. So they're going to try and do something a bit different, and something a bit different is basically 4-player co-op in kind of open worldish maps and with persistent leveling. And so it's quite RPG-ish.
Right, okay.
But with the kind of Homefront Revolution, as you might not even know actually, because I don't think it's at the front of people's minds really. It's kind of a very survival-ish based game. It's not really a sequel as such to the first Homefront, which you might remember wasn't a very good game.
The multiplayer on that was actually okay.
It was
on that topic.
I know,
yes.
The multiplayer was really good because it came from Chaos, who were, I think they're Battlefront models before they did before they became a real studio and then got shut down. So I think it is going to be, some people will look at the fact that this is co-op. I think it's a bit of a shame because Chaos's multiplayer was really good in the first Homefront.
I would argue it's now 2016. It is still really difficult to get ahead in competitive multiplayer in like a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, I sidetracked you. The campaign isn't really a sequel.
No, it's not a sequel. It's a reboot, and so it kind of takes the premise, which is that America's been invaded by North Korean forces, and it does something completely new with it. It's kind of open world-ish, although it's like small little open world levels. Basically, the lazy way of describing it, which is what I'm going to go for, is a bit Far Cry-ish, but with a bit more emphasis on survival. Like the odds are like firmly stacked against you. You're up against like really well tooled up enemies, and you basically go in with guns which are taped together and just scavenging stuff left, right, and centre, and just using kind of guerrilla tactics against this enemy. So you always feel kind of overwhelmed in combat, and always feel like you're kind of the little guy fighting against this huge big army.
Would you say that that's what's separating Homefront Revolution in your mind, like that slight feel of survival? Yeah,
I really like that part of it. I played the campaign last August, I think it was. And it felt different. I know it looks a bit boring if you just look at the aesthetic of it, but that survival part of it actually works really well. It makes it feel different to other games, and it's quite confidently done as well. It feels it's got its own kind of sense of identity, and it feels like it's its own thing, doing its treading its own kind of path. And yeah, I liked what I played of the campaign.
Okay, well, specifically talking about this co-op stuff, is it the case that people will jump into your campaign as you're playing, or is this something that you set up?
No, basically there's going to be 12 missions at the start.
Okay.
And you can almost think of it like a Destiny Strike or something. You just kind of group up with friends and then take on one of these missions, which takes about 10 to 20 minutes.
Okay, so it's a separate thing, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was on normal. I'm sure if you go on slightly harder mode, it's going to be a bit more a bit tougher. You pick a class, you have certain perks, and you basically try and form a team who complement each other well, and then shoot loads of bad guys. Does
it still manage to keep that feeling of it being a survival game and you being against the odds when there's 4 players? Surely
it does.
There's a bit of that.
I think it has. It obviously kind of scales up depending how many people are in your fire team.
Sure.
And also, it was really hard when we first played it. Although we played it at the start of a leveling curve, basically. So when you haven't unlocked any of the perks. Really, you're fighting with a basic gun.
Okay.
And then I think we had progression slightly ramped up, so we got to see what it's like when you're still a bit more tooled up. It's still tough. And it's still like the combat still feels like a bit of a slog, but I mean that in a good way. And so it still has that kind of element of being against the odds.
They haven't moved, so I'm hoping they aren't expecting you. Be careful out there, Wraiths. This unit is amongst the best in the KPA military and will not go down easily.
It looks really pie-faced and everything, but there's like a really weird strand of like weird British humour in it, as you might expect from Free Radical, who did Time Splitters. And so you're fighting against North Koreans.
Okay.
And then, for some reason, people in the game have decided to abbreviate that as NORKS.
Right? Is that something that ever happens?
I don't think so. Part of me thinks it's a bit weird because, like, that's a new racial slur. We probably don't need any more of those in the world.
Quite possibly.
The other part of me just thinks it's hilarious that basically you're fighting against breasts. I'm not like you're like maybe I'm not sure if it's just an age thing, but you know what NORKS means, right? You know what NORKS, yeah.
There's a couple of NORKS over there.
Yeah, seriously, it's like there's NORKS in the alleyway, NORKS on the roof. Watch out, like NORKS are down. Like that's the last I see of a NORKS today. It's like, oh my god. And I thought it was really weird. I didn't know if it was kind of intentional or not. And I spoke to a developer who was guiding us through the level and was like, do you realise what NORKS means? And he was like, yeah, we know what that means.
yeah, we do.
Okay, Ray,
Wow.
listen up.
I love that. I love that we've talked about this game being a little bit more serious, a little bit more survival focused, and then in the background of that, there's just the word NORKS.
Yeah,
over and over
and
again.
it's I kind of hope there's more of that kind of sense of character in there, because otherwise it can be quite a po-faced game.
Sure.
The other thing about it as well, what we played was extremely buggy, more so than I've experienced. I know this is like only it's only going into closed beta and everything.
Were you playing the same build that is, or as far as you know, the one that's going to be used for the closed beta then?
Yeah, it doesn't feel at the moment like a game which has only got like 3 months to go until it's out. It feels like it needs a bit more time in the oven. Like there's loads of crazy stuff going on.
As in like visual stuff, or
people's legs kind of swinging around like windmills as they levitated 2 feet above the ground. A truck going down the street on 2 wheels, like an amazing stunt thing, but I don't think it was supposed to be doing that.
Okay.
And lots of weird jankiness. And it didn't feel as good as it did when I played it back in August in the campaign. I guess they're just in the middle of doing some fine tuning. We might have caught them kind of at the point where it isn't tuned where it should be.
Yeah, but if they are going to like, invite some people to come in and play this now, how's the closed beta being run? Do you know, like who has access to it?
I don't, so I don't know.
Okay, well,
I think it's like a very closed beta, and then we'll get something a bit more open a bit further down the line.
Sure, we may check back in with it then. And Martin, thank you so much for telling us about NORKS.
Thank you very much for having me.
The KPA
Lovely.
has been sighted
Bye-bye.
nearby, and we desperately need eyes in the zone to figure out what they're up to. Head south and scout the old market square. Tobias and Isaac are taking their teams out to sweep the rest of the zone.
Come in, dispatch.
Dispatch here.
It's Tobias. The Eagles have reached our objective, and we're all clear.
Say again, Tobias. Did you say all clear?
Sure did. We have 0 activity. There isn't a single NORK in sight.
Copy that. Continue your search. The KPA must be out there somewhere.
Contact. I got eyes on a NORK patrol. They're heading towards the market square.
Roger that, Isaac. You and the Firebirds hold position and stay out of sight. Wraiths, take out that patrol and make sure they don't get any closer to the safe house. We can't have the KPA discover our location.
Here, we got trouble.
What's going on, Isaac? KPA.
We're here.
Calm down. Take a breath. Count them. How many?
I don't know. Dozens of them with support.
Fuck! Shit!
Tobias, you had contact with Firebirds?
Negative, dispatch. No contact. We can't hold this position. We're gonna have to pull the Eagles back.
Okay, get your people out of there. Wraiths, you also need to pull back.
No worries. Let's get out of here.
Wraiths, what's the delay? You have no support out there. Get your asses back now. Okay, Wraiths. This is a full-blown KPA assault and we're right in the middle of it. We need you to hold your position while we prepare our evacuation of the safe house. You cannot let them through.
Thanks for the help. It was starting to look bad for us. Eagles, get your shit together. I doubt that's the last we've seen of the NORKS today.
Heads up. There's more KPA moving in on your position. The evacuation is almost complete. Just buy us more time.
I hate being right all the time. Okay, people, look alive. We have more incoming.
Okay, people. The safe house is clear, but the NORKS have figured us out. We need you all back here to establish a perimeter around the safe house. While we rig the safe house to blow. I'll let you know when it's time for you to pull out.
Roger that, dispatch. Okay, people, this is where we hold them. Get ready to fall back on my mark. We won't have long to get out of here.
I recently replayed the original Homefront. You know, this one, released by THQ back in 2011, and while I have fond memories of it, I was surprised by how badly it had aged. From what I remembered, it had an enjoyable, if rather short campaign, but a rosy tint made me forget about the clunky controls and the incredibly linear gameplay. It's only been 4 years since its release, but it felt old. Nowadays, it's a growing trend among shooters to allow a lot more freedom to the player, and Homefront the Revolution, Homefront's semi-sequel, embraces this approach by offering open-world gameplay that will feel very familiar to anyone who has played the most recent Far Cry games.